Hey, hey, Hot 97, where hip-hop lives. Peter Rosenberg. It's time to play the game. The game.
You know, I always wondered where hip-hop actually lived. And I had no idea. It was right here in New York at Hot 97.
I'm surprised you didn't know that, Triple H.
I didn't. I always wondered that, though. Where does hip-hop actually live?
Now, since your early days in WWE, you were always sort of billed as not as a hip-hop kind of guy. You're a fancy guy.
Yeah, a fancy guy, but, that kind of changed over the years, to be more really what I am, which is more of a, Motorhead, Metallica kind of guy. No offense to, where hip-hop lives.
None taken at all. I like Motorhead. A lot of people, I think, I'm sure you can take a lot of heat because of the situation that you're in. You're the boss's kid, you're the boss's son-in-law, etc. And that sounds great. Triple H has the belt again. Awesome. I feel like, though, there are times, like right now, when there could be a lot of pressure by being not only the guy who has the company on his back, but it's your father-in-law who's running the company.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the second Steph and I, in any way, shape, or form, got together, it became an issue, you know what I mean? And that was something that I had to accept in my career. And, people are always going to look at that and say that, but you have to look at it this way. Vince McMahon runs a billion-dollar industry. It's, arguably, as I said up there, whether he's genius or he's insane, but
usually people say both. That's usually...
Yeah, he's a pretty smart guy, and I can tell you quite frankly that if Vince didn't think it was the right thing for business, it would not be done on our show. So, whether I'm champion, not champion, whatever I am, that's at the reaction of the fans, and that's what people don't understand about our business is all of that comes from all these people that you saw here today going crazy in our arenas. Our fans, the greatest fans in the world, the most rabid fans in the world. They're the ones that really, in essence, put things where they need to be on the show, and that's the bottom line. That's who he listens to. We say it every night. We say every single night. We've got when people take polls to find out what they want to do with their TV shows. We don't have to. We got the perfect poll every night. We got 20,000 people in the arena telling you what's working and what's not.
How much fun do you still have? It's been a long time now.
It's a ball. You know what? The day I don't have fun anymore, I'm done. But God, you heard these people, right?
I come to a lot of stuff. I am the people.
Yeah. I mean, when you get that. People ask you, God, you tear this or you do that, you get injured. How can you go out there every night and stuff because of that?
Yeah, I'm at a point now in my DVD collection. I'm on the list now, so I get everything.
Yeah.
So now my collection has gotten so embarrassing. When you're watching random New Year's Revolution from 2005, you start to question yourself.
Yeah.
I don't like to be the dude. I just met you, and hopefully I'll interview you again. I don't like to be the dude who brings up anything that's controversial, especially meeting someone first time. But this pissed me off to no end, and I admit how I feel about it straight up. I read an interview with Scott Steiner a few weeks ago, where he not only completely buried you and Sean, whatever, and that was fine. I hear people bury you guys. It's going to happen in the position you're in.
So, yeah, it's everybody's got to blame somebody for not making it in the business.
But Flair, to say that everything that happened with Rick was a work, and that everyone who came out, they didn't really feel that way. The only guys who respect Ric Flair are Hunter and Sean. It made me sick, and it, to me on the outside it goes, well, this is obviously from the standpoint of someone who never made it quite to the level that he wanted to. I'm just curious if you have any response. I don't know if you heard anything about it, but
I honestly didn't, and I don't, I don't pay attention to that stuff. And quite honestly, I'm sure if I saw Scott Steiner tomorrow, we'd get along just fine. When you are no longer in the limelight, you need to talk about the people in the limelight to keep yourself current and to keep yourself viable. The best, I've heard it said a million times by guys that come in, when you're working the indies, the best thing you can do is complain about guys like me burying you in the WWE because it just gets you booked more often because it creates controversy. Whether Scott really feels that way, I can tell you personally that, and if you watch that video back, there weren't a lot of dry eyes in that ring.
No, not at all.
Let alone in the arena. If Scott Steiner truly believes that only Sean and I respect Ric Flair and give him that, to give him that reaction, then he's crazy. I know Scott and Rick have had their differences in the past, but maybe Scott doesn't respect Rick, but everybody else.
It seemed real to me. I'll say it. I was there at the Hall of Fame the weekend before. I was at WrestleMania. It felt real to everyone there.
You couldn't get that emotion. You know what I mean? We would have all won an Oscar. If that was all just a performance, we would all won an Oscar. You know what I mean? Because it was an emotional weekend for everybody, for Rick, for everybody involved. And, it was all legit.
Would you have beaten that match between Rick and Sean?
No, I mean, that was the thing. I mean, those guys stole the show, the emotion of that match, and just in itself, you talk about your WrestleMania moments. That was your WrestleMania moment.
I know you got a lot of people to talk to. Triple H, the game, the champ. I'm really mad you're not with a belt, though. What's the deal with that?
Well, this really wasn't about promoting a pay-per-view or promoting a match. This was more about promoting $1 million, and that was up there. And so you kind of keep the hardware at home. Exactly.
Triple H, he's the champ. Thank you very much, man.
Thanks, man.
Hunter, much appreciated, man.
Thank you.